They're so grateful.
Yes, I'm sure they are.
Tell me about the RAF. I love to hear your tales.
Just watch the road, Miss Herbert.
Shall we have a cup of coffee afterwards? Until you tell me then.
Yes, a coffee would be nice.
Great days, one, eh? Weren't they? The best, JP, the best, the best. It's all right, huh?
Oh, for heaven's sake. Get him out of here, will you, Mr. Ransom? Come along, everyone, please.
Never seen sober. No, I've never seen anything like it before in all my days. Sober. No, I've never seen anything like it before in all my days. Alcoholic.
What's the matter?
I didn't eat his damn supper. Toad in the hole, that was. And peas. And a whole packet of potatoes. 6p those potatoes cost me. If they weren't there, he'd complain his ruddy head off. Run out of potatoes, have we?
It's better without them. He's too fat, that man.
Of course he's too fat. God knows what he got up to last night.
Saracen's Head. Maybe he's got a dolly girl.
Damn ridiculous he is.
Morning.
You look fantastic.
Where the hell was you?
Oh, I won't be in, Mum. See you.
Look at it. Look at it!
I forgot about it.
Well, I'm sick to death of it. What's it like for Sharon, do you think? Father coming in at all hours of the day and night, good food burnt to a cinder. What'd she think of a man who spends 3/4 of his life in a public house?
I was there on business. Ransom was explaining about this job he's got.
Well, she despises you, that girl does. You can see it in her eyes. She looks at you and despises you.
Arrangements has got 2 hours.
Morning, Mr. Roche. Morning, Topsy.
Morning.
Oh, Powers?
Yeah.
Look here, JP, it's rather embarrassing. This silly thing, really.
What?
This woman, Bolton.
Yeah, well, she'll be all right. She's got a test on the 5th.
Attractive little sweetie, isn't she?
Oh, dare say she is, yeah.
Yeah, she's made a complaint, actually.
Well, matter of fact, Mr. Roche, she put me in a bit of an awkward position.
Awkward?
Yeah, well, she insisted I had a drink with her.
The rule is crystal clear about drink, Powers.
No, it was up at 7. I'm finished for the day.
You had to drive the car back to the garage. In no circumstances will I have any of my drivers sitting in a first-time lucky car with alcohol in their systems.
Look, I had a glass of lemonade with a woman.
In her flat?
Yeah, she invited me in, pours me out a drink, sits me down, goes out of the room and comes back in a negligee.
Yes.
Well, that's it. I had my drink and I left.
Mrs. Bolton has asked for a change of instructor. She said she'd rather sit in a car with an instructor who used a deodorant.
Deodorant?
So you see, Powers, I shall have to take on Mrs. Bolton myself.
Bloody woman. She poured me a gin and tonic big enough to float a navy on. She says my husband's in Aberdeen. I thought to myself, I don't blame him. Hey, Topsy, you fancy a noggin at the Saracens at lunchtime?
Sorry.
I can't talk to the do you good.
You're a married man, Mr. Powers.
Look, I'm only asking you to have a drink in the Saracens.
Sorry, Mr. Powers. Miss Hovish is here.
Miss Obish is all I need.
I feel I'm doing well this morning, Mr. Powers. Better than last time.
You're improving with every lesson, Miss Obish. We've got to turn right at the top, so edge out while you've got the chance.
What?
Edge over to the right.
Oh.
Hand signals.
I've got some more goodies for St. Bridget's.
You can go by St. Bridget's, don't worry. Now, Miss Obish. Slow down for the crossing.
I beg your pardon?
Slow down for the crossing.
Oh. So difficult.
Right, well, turn left. We'll go up Mortimer Road to St. Bridget's. More gas.
What?
Accelerator.
Oh.
I think I'd better drive, Miss Obish. The steering may be wonky.
I'll pay, of course.
It's not just the money. I'm afraid we're not supposed to have accidents.
Oh, you can't help having accidents when you're learning to drive.
Cars are fitted with dual controls. It was all my fault. I dropped off to sleep.
Oh, dear. But you don't have to tell them. Well, we needn't say anything about your dropping off to sleep at all. I'll say I suddenly pressed the accelerator thing
And you put on the brake, but it wasn't any good because the car was going too fast. You mustn't dream of taking the blame, Mr. Powers.
Well, I'd better phone the office anyway. I shall have to cancel my next 2 lessons.
Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh,
No,
dear.
it'll be all right. Can I use your phone?
Yes, of course. Please now, promise to tell them it was all my fault. Say I'll pay whatever is owing. Tell them I had a silly aberration. Please now, Mr. Powers. After all, I am a very old customer. Do hope they'll let me go on having driving lessons.
Well, it was your 92nd, you know.
I do so enjoy them.
It'll be all right. Topsy, it's Powers here. Look, love, there's been a bit of a kerfuffle. Yeah, I shall have to cancel my next 2 lessons.
Yes.
Our central heat.
Hang on a minute.
I remember. Yes, please do come.
Thank you very much.
Perhaps you'd like to have a cup of coffee.
Thank you very much,
Yes.
madam.
Topsy, I'll be back in the office as soon as I can. Yeah, I know he'll be furious.
Now, this system, I unhesitatingly recommend Scheme B1, we call it, for a house this size, say, 2 radiators to a...
I'd just get another cup and saucer.
How do you do?
Morning.
Is that your wagon outside, is it? The old girl knock it about a bit, eh? She's 80 if she's a day, I'd say. Bit late in the hour for driving lessons, eh?
She enjoys the outings.
You in the dumps or something?
I think I've probably lost my job.
Yeah, there we are. Now, you'll have another cup, Mr. Powers. I'm going to give you a cheque. I decided in the kitchen to give you a cheque immediately. I had a silly aberration and broke poor Mr. Powers' motor.
So I saw. I imagine Mr. Powers would settle for a cheque, all right. I'd say we could do you a really nice job with Scheme B1. Around about £380, give or take a touch. Warm as toast, you be, my dear. The whole thing tailored to your personal requirements. Of course, we pride ourselves on our tailor-made system. Well, stands to reason, bound to, really.
Do sit down, Mr. Powers. Have another biscuit.
I mean, what's suitable for one house is nothing like suitable for the next.
You just name the amount. You tell me a figure. I have no desire to get you into trouble, Mr. Powers.
It's all right, Miss Hovish. The car's fully insured.
Yes, but I would like to give you a cheque.
There's a small down payment and the rest when the job's complete. I'd have to measure up, of course. It could be just a touch more than the figure I quoted. I can give you an estimate here and now, actually. Start upstairs, shall I? All right to go upstairs, is it? Madam?
Oh, no. I don't think I'll have it.
Have it, madam.
I don't think I'll bother with your central heating.
But I called to give you an estimate. You filled in the coupon. You agreed.
Oh, no, I didn't agree to anything. I've changed my mind. I'm very sorry.
Oh, it'll only take 10 minutes. You'll know exactly where you are.
I'm very sorry.
Well, if you should change your mind,
Oh,
don't
yes,
hesitate
yes,
to
of
call.
course. I'll let you know immediately.
No, you have our telephone number.
Thank you very much. Goodbye. Thank you.
really shouldn't have sent that man away, Miss Hobish. I should have gone myself. I'm sorry about that. Mr. Roche may ask you to pay just a little. He'll probably telephone.
No, don't go. I'd have sent that man away anyway. I'd no intention of ordering any central heating. I mean, why on earth should I? I've done without it all my life.
He said...
Well, I fill in rather a lot of newspaper coupons, as a matter of fact. The salesman always comes. Look. Holidays in Canada. West Indian cruises. Encyclopedia Britannica. Hi-fi machine. It's a little like the driving lessons, I'm afraid. You see, they come to give me a demonstration or just for a chat, trying to persuade me. Sometimes they come 3 or 4 times and, well, we always have tea or coffee and, well, it's nice.
I see.
I've never actually bought anything. Would you like to try one of these cigarettes, Mr. Powers?
That's very kind of you, Miss Hobish. Thank you.
There.
You live here alone, Miss Hobish?
Yes, quite alone. Mr. Yamada comes on Mondays and Thursdays. He's Japanese from my home help agency.
Does he?
Oh, we manage Mr. Yamada now. He brings the shopping when he comes and cleans the place up and washes up and goes to the laundrette. I don't like him very much. They've meant a lot to me, the driving lessons. I hope they can go on. Well, they will go on, won't they, Mr. Powers?
Well, they may insist you have a new instructor, Miss Hobish. Mr. Roche himself, perhaps.
No avocado, miss. Everywhere I try, walking.
Oh, it doesn't matter, Mr. Yamada.
I got to do the work.
Oh, thank you.
I really must go myself.
Would you like some sherry? Glass of sherry or whiskey? I sometimes have a glass when a visitor comes.
Well, it's very kind of you. A little whiskey, perhaps.
Yes. My father used to swear by whiskey.
That's very kind of you, Miss Hobish. Cheers.
You're not well, Mr. Powers. I can see it in your eyes. Your eyes don't look at all well.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a hangover, I'm afraid. I had a few drops too many last night.
Oh. You drink because you're unhappy? My father used to drink when he was unhappy, I remember. A long time ago.
It's not like that with me. It's just I was down at the local public house last night and I bumped into a friend of mine I used to know in the RAF, a chap called Ransom.
Oh, well, that was nice.
He sells baby requisites, you know. He wants me to be a traveller for him.
Traveller?
Yeah, selling baby requisites door to door. Gripe water, talcum powder, nappies, that sort of thing. He's expanding, actually. He's just bought up a disinfectants outfit.
Oh, and while your friend was explaining the work you had too much to drink.
He's not exactly what you call a friend, though. Matter of fact, about 25 years ago, he wanted to marry my wife, but she took to me instead. You know, when I see him looking at me sometimes, I can see him thinking, how on earth could any woman ever have preferred him? My wife has the same way of looking at me.
Oh, surely not.
Yeah. My daughter despises me because I'm a flop.
I'm sure that's not true, Mr. Powers.
When I came out of the RAF, I was on door-to-door work, you know, selling polish. And after that, I got a job working in a carpeting department. You can't get any pride out of working in a carpeting department, can you? Any more than you can get pride out of selling polish. Well, what I wanted when I was a youngster, like, I always wanted a shop of my own. A news agent, so selling sweets and cigarettes. Sort of place old dads come in for their ounce of tobacco. Kids come in choosing chocolate bars. We had it sorted out, the wife and I, but we could never get hold of the money for it.
Oh, well, maybe you will one day.
It's a wife's idea. I got into this driving instructor business, but I've never liked it, you know. I'm no good at it.
But you're so kind and so patient. I mean, you don't even mind when a foolish old woman smashes up your car.
Do you know what I often wish, Miss Hobish? I often wish I had the courage to join a work gang, you know, sort of gang of paddies working on the road or on a building site somewhere. Out in all weather, sun, wind, rain.
You'd be wasted.
Can I have another drink?
Yes, 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 please. Help yourself.
Thank you. Oh, I'm afraid I'm a man who's lost his self-respect, Miss Obish. It's a hard thing to get back, you know. People look at you and they know. They despise you for it.
I don't despise you, Mr. Powers. I've known you now for nearly 2 years, and it's never occurred to me to despise you.
I spend 9 or 10 hours a day working. If there's no satisfaction at the end of it, you're bound to lose your self-respect. She's quite right. You can't be married to a man who's lost his self-respect.
But your wife?
Yeah. If I had the courage, I'd leave her. She'd like it if I left her. I fancy the girl in the office, you know. She thinks I'm a slub.
I'm sure that's not true, Mr. Powers. I think you imagine things.
You know, when I'm out of the car, I sometimes think to myself I won't go back. To hell with a lot of them. I'll drive this damn thing all the way to Edinburgh.
You don't want to come to terms, that's all. You're a romantic, Mr. Powers.
I'll probably fall asleep over the wheel.
It's a nuisance being a romantic. Dreams can destroy you.
I take the coffee.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Mr. Powers.
I'm not surprised you don't like him.
He's not so bad. You have to come to terms. You have to say to yourself that dreams are all nonsense. I used to play with him when I was a child. He was from the orphanage, from St. Bridget's. My mother's charity. Oh, a charity boy, my mother said when I told my parents I wanted to marry him. I was just 16. He was a month too older. He'll become a butcher, my father said with his laugh, or a milkman. We can't have you marrying a milkman now, can we? I didn't see why not. He joined the army in 1915. You'll forget him, my mother said. Come along now, dear, but I didn't forget him. I prayed and waited for his every leave. He used to come back here to be near me, he said, but of course he had no one else. He used to stay in lodgings with a Mrs. Mott. And we'd walk together through the streets, where you give driving lessons now, miles and miles along the towpath by the river. So much in love I was, it used to hurt. I used to lie alone in bed at night feeling physical pain.
Was he killed?
No, he wasn't killed. But just before the war ended, he stopped coming to Mrs. Mott's. And on Christmas Eve, 1918, he married a girl called Daisy.
Did he become a milkman?
No. He became a draftsman and later on a builder. And in fact, later on he became quite rich. I used to see him and his Daisy. I used to hang about their little house, willing her to die. Twice he told me that I must go away, but when he looked at me, I thought he still loved me. I worked it all out. His Daisy was pregnant when he married her. She was a creature he'd got with child, and he'd stuck by her because he was good about that sort of thing. I used to dream that he'd tell me he was unhappy and that there'd be a divorce, and that we'd marry as we meant to. I knew I was right. You see, there was only the one child. Year after year, I waited. I didn't go near the bigger house they'd moved to. I didn't even see him. You see, I knew. I really knew that sooner or later he wouldn't be able to put up with that common creature who'd so cheaply caught him up. I'd defied my parents. I'd waited through a whole war. I could wait forever if need be. I'd loved him much better than any girl like that could ever love. I'd loved him almost all my life. I hardly noticed the years going by in this house. Even at 50, I imagined that marriage would somehow come to an end. Middle age was a dangerous time for marriage, I'd heard, or she might die. I wrote to him once. I told him I'd never forgotten him. I said I'd never married because of him. I was no longer young or beautiful, I pointed out, but nor was he. I still loved the memory of him, and I always would. His wife wrote back. He died 3 years before. That's why I go to St. Bridget's each week, like putting flowers on a grave. That's why I'm alone and have no children, an absurd old woman who fills in newspaper coupons because she's short of social life.
You are not absurd, Miss Obishus.
I think you're not a slob, and you think I'm not absurd. When I think about myself, I find I've lost my self-respect, too. How could I respect myself when I look back on the nonsense that was my life? How silly it all was. Even now, it's silly to go to St. Bridget's every week. He had a perfectly happy marriage. He loved his wife and she loved him. Well, he forgot about me sometime in 1917. Made me bitter and unpleasant. For years, I was a nasty sort of person, Mr. Powers. Worse than being a flop. I've left the amount open.
Put at the top, not to exceed £10.
Oh, but surely that...
No, it'll only sting you for about 50 quid. It's only for inconvenience. The car's fully covered.
Yes, but I don't want to cause you any unpleasantness.
I'm sorry you've had your trouble.
Oh. One mustn't exaggerate things like that. Everyone's life has a lining of trouble. There now.
I'd do that garden for you.
What?
I could tidy up your garden for you, Miss Obish. And the house.
What do you mean, Mr. Powers?
I could do the shopping too, couldn't I? I mean, I could run you around if you got hold of a little car, you know, to see your friends or to the pictures or for a walk in the park. If I lived here...
Mr. Powers...
I'd only want a little room in the top somewhere, you know, an attic and a few quid a week. I'd really enjoy working on that garden, you know. You need some new fencing.
I'm afraid it would be quite impossible, Mr. Powers.
I can cook a bit as well, you know. I quite enjoy cooking. I haven't had the opportunity for a long time.
But I don't want...
Oh, I wouldn't do anything you didn't want. I'd really enjoy being in this house, getting it all back into shape again.
I'm sorry. I couldn't possibly consider it.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, JP. Sorry about this.
Betty?
Aye, aye.
Ron. Yes, see you in a minute, Ron. Thanks, Betty.
Now, don't forget, I'll have everything. Prams, caricots, high chairs, everything that a baby wants. I've got a bloke down Hoxton way. He's working on a wee-wee control. It's a marvellous gadget. Well then, JP.
Is it still going? What we were talking about last night?
Sure, it's still going. I'm firing Jack Clay. Do you want it, JP?
Well, it was all right with you.
There's nothing I'd like better. I'll put you under young Armstrong. He's been telling me to fire Jack Clay for 2 months now.
Armstrong?
Area manager. Sharp as a blade. That's the bloke over there. And that's Jack Clay with him. As stale as last week's fish. A month's trial, did we say?
You didn't mention a trial.
Oof! Always have a trial, JP. See how we go.
Yeah, of course.
Great. Well, we'll have a drink on that, shall we? 3 pints, and put one up for JP. Funny to be working together again, won't it? You'll like young Armstrong, you know.
Well, I must say you're looking lovely. Really lovely.
I've had a bad day.
If you're giving driving lessons in that condition, I'd say you did have a bad day.
Look, I had a couple of pints in the Saracens, that's all. I've decided to go in with Ransom.
Roach fired you. Ransom can't bear the sight of you.
It'll be all right.
It emphatically will not be all right. You know that as well as I do. You know what Ransom's up to?
He's firing Jack Clay.
If I were you, I'd forget all about Ransom and get yourself back into a driving school as fast as your fat little legs will carry you.
I don't like driving schools. It'll send you mad. Hawking learners about day in and day out.
For heaven's sake.
Well, I've got no aptitude for it.
What makes you think you've got any aptitude for selling babies' nappies?
Well, at least it'll be something different.
Look, Ransom's waited a long time to get you working for him, just so that he'd have the pleasure of firing you after 2.5 days.
There's a trial period of a month.
With Ransom, there'll be a trial period of a month, a week, 2.5 days, 5 minutes. They never give in, men like Ransom. They don't forgive and they don't forget. Maybe that's why they get to the top.
You nearly married him.
Maybe I should have. God knows, maybe I should have. Yes. Yes, he has eventually come in. Hold on, please.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Powers? Oh, I'm so sorry to telephone you so late. I did ring earlier.
Yeah. What is it, Miss Hobish?
Well, I've been thinking about what you said. I would like you to come here.
I'm afraid I got a bit carried away yesterday, Miss Hobish. It was the whiskey on top of the beer I'd had the night before. I really shouldn't have said what I did.
Would you like some more whiskey?
Oh, no, thank you.
Mr. Yamada was rather rude to me yesterday, after you'd gone. I said that, of course, the avocados were in the shops. Well, I knew. I mean, I'd seen them, and... He called me a ridiculous old bitch, Mr. Powers.
Look, I'm sorry, Miss
So I
Obis.
said he must go away and never come back. And then I went out into the garden. It was so nice to have it tidied up, like you said. And then I walked about the house. It could do with being redecorated. You're quite right, Mr. Powers.
I've taken on other work, Miss Obis.
But you won't like it. You said yesterday you'd enjoy being in this house.
It just wouldn't work out.
Oh, why wouldn't it work out? Oh, why can't there just occasionally be a happy ending? Oh, I'd love to be driven out for a walk in the park or to the cinema to visit a friend. I'm a useless stick in need of help, but I have got money to spare. In the proper manner, you could pay your wife her monthly due. There'd be no difficulty about that. You don't care much for your wife, Mr. Powers, nor does she, by the sound of it, care over much for you. In time, your daughter would come to admire your resolution. Even your wife might.
I really don't think...
Yesterday I hadn't the courage. I was terrified of the idea because it seemed so strange and so eccentric. I was frightened of it like you are now. We're just two people, Mr. Powers, for whom things haven't gone too well. It's a lot to have in common. I had a dream. I thought it would be nice if we bought a dog.
There we are.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. Not bad, not too bad, Mr. Powers.
I'm getting the hang of it.
Do the cabbage a little less. Less than a minute always for cabbage.
Well, it'd be raw, wouldn't it?
No. Now, what about this dog?
A poodle?
No.
How about a corgi, then? Or a celium, now they're nice. You've forgotten your medicine.
Doesn't matter. I thought something rather larger. Perhaps a red setter.
Now, come on, take your medicine, Miss Obis. Come on now.
We'll have a spaniel.
Look.
What do they all think of you, do you imagine?
Well, I'm a traitor to the white-collar workers.
When I was a girl, we had a terrier called Pico. What do you think of Pico?
It doesn't suit a spaniel as well.
Timur. I've always liked Timur.
Timo's nice. That's good.
Timur? Timur? You will look after Timo, won't you?
Look after him, Miss Obish.
When I'm gone.
No, you're not going anywhere, Miss Obish.
I'm going to die, as a matter of fact.
You're not going to die, Miss Obish.
Well, yes, of course. I have to die. I've left enough for you to go on paying your wife. And for yourself.
Careful. Steady, Malcolm.
I've left the house to St. Bridget's with all the rest. I did think of leaving you the house, Mr. Powers, but I decided I must not. After all, St. Bridget's is a charity.
I didn't expect anything.
Oh, St. Bridget's must let you stay on here, if you wish to. You and Timo. In honour of our eccentricity.
Very good of you.
I can manage now. Will you see to the fire? Mr. Powers. What a strange love affair we've had.
Love affair, Miss Obish?
Well, don't you think we could call it that?
Come on. Come on.